Hi again then guys, and welcome to the full initial breakdown, the first look if you will, here on the channel at the new 1.36 update. Now of course this is kind of overshadowed already by the news that I released earlier on today of the leaked vehicles. So if you haven't already checked out that video, you should go and do so. The Porsche 962, the Toyota AE86 and a couple of other really cool ones as well. But as far as this 1.36 patch goes, it's a patch which is a lot smaller than we would typically get, and a lot of people have been complaining about that. But the thing that you need to bear in mind is that we've actually had 2 packs in 1 month. So we haven't had 5 cars and however many there were in the last one, I think another 5 or so. It's more like 10. So it's actually better than most previous months, and we still had the track from last time, Autopolis. So many people, including myself, were conjecturing, would we get a new track? We haven't. We have though got a circuit experience on Autopolis, but no actual new circuit this time, and doubtless there will be one in the next update. Now as far as the vehicles themselves, there are only 5 to break down. You've got the Ferrari 250 GT, the Lancia Stratos, the 25th anniversary Lamborghini Countach, and 2 variations of the Dallara SF19 or Super Formula 2019 cars powered by TRD, aka Toyota, or Honda. So first of all, let's clue in on the most significant 2 cars of the pack. Now I'm going to briefly talk about all 5 cars, and I am going to get much more in depth with all of them in individual reviews over the coming days. So be sure to stick around for those, but just my brief thoughts on each one. Initially, as far as the Dallaras go, of course they are the highlight of the pack. All 3 of the others are returning, to some degree, high rollers, if not just classics in general. These 2 are completely new. They are Formula cars, open wheel race cars, which we've never had a huge amount of in any particular single Gran Turismo game. I believe the most that we've ever had in one game might be either Gran Turismo 3 with all of the different Senna tributes, or Gran Turismo 6 with the Formula GT, the Lotus 97T, the WSR Formula car as well. So we've never had a huge amount at once. In this game though, we've actually got a decent amount now, especially adding these 2 new ones. Now they've got 2-litre engines, over 600 horsepower, they weigh a lot more than a Formula 1 car, over 600 kilos, but I have to say, straight up, these are brilliant. I love both of these SF19 cars. I'm not a Formula car fan, I'm not an open wheel race car fan generally, but these handle like a dream. They are not twitchy, they don't have anywhere near the kind of issues that people used to have with the Mercedes W08. And speaking on the subject of stuff like that Mercedes, it's very important for me to mention that this pack has not only brought new vehicles, but it's also enabled the boost systems on a number of cars, such as KERS, I believe DRS, and even putting the wings down on the Tomahawk. So once again, the Tomahawk can go over 400 miles per hour. I will be releasing an updated tune, a speed tune for that one, probably tomorrow. So again, very cool. People are really dumping all over this update, but it's brought back a lot of cool stuff. A lot of stuff that we needed to have in the game before, so you can now assign a button to the controller, use the DRS or KERS, whichever one it is, I believe DRS on the F1 car. On these, not so much. It's got the overtaking feature, which you can't see here because I'm just driving on my own, but as you can see from the Milo on the screen with both of the vehicles, I was literally driving these from the get-go. These were just the tune that I slapped on there. I put the exact same tune set up on both cars. They felt fantastic. They both feel incredible. However, the single biggest gripe that I have with both of them, because they are so similar, is the halo. The halo is absolutely ridiculous. The blind spot is literally the width of the road if you look far enough ahead, and that is insane. Tons of respect to the drivers who actually use these things, because if it's anything like it is in the game, it looks awful. However, drive it in any other view and it's not an issue. They are fantastic. What then about the other cars? Well, the most expensive car of the pack at 12.5 million credits, which is a massive jump from 7.5 million in the last game, is the Ferrari, the 250 GT. Not as much of a full-on race car as something like a P4 or the 250 GTO, or even most of the other high rollers, to be honest, but it is a car which mirrors its more real-world price. I believe one sold relatively recently for over $11 million, so it's about accurate to that. but I would say that the car is not as good through corners as it was in the previous game. It's a lot more tail happy, a lot more boatish as far as the handling goes. It likes to wallow around on the road and float around a little bit too much for my liking. It's kind of like driving something like an Aston Martin DB4 or a DB5 in some games as well. Very, very old school handling. Not necessarily bad, it feels authentic, but it feels authentically bad because of its age and that it's not a full-on race car. However, still a great collector's piece, albeit a very expensive one. If you discount that, then the rest of the pack only costs 3.1 million. If you factor that in, you're looking at 15.6 million to buy these 5 cars. So a huge amount of work. I had to spend the last 3 or 4 days grinding like crazy to get the money for them. Now, as far as the Countach 25th was already a pretty good car in the previous game. It wasn't the fastest thing out there, but it was a good contender, especially when you were talking, say, 80s supercars, because there weren't a huge amount of those. You've got the Countach, the F40, that's about it. We never had the 959 and a couple of others, so it's a good car, but it doesn't have a massive amount of rivalry, not typically as far as its peers go, at least. However, you can use it in multiple classes. N400 is the one that I'm using, or the tune that I'm using on the car in the video. The handling is surprisingly heavy for a Lambo. You would probably assume it would be pretty slippery, like a Diablo or a Huracan. It's not. It's the exact opposite. If anything, some people will probably find it too heavy through corners. The brakes are reasonably good, but the car definitely feels like an all-wheel drive car, and it feels a lot heavier than it actually is. Not necessarily always a bad thing though, especially for long endurance races where a car that has heavier handling is much easier to predict and to work with. It's not really going to ever surprise you by spinning out or trying to snap back at you. So pretty good as far as that goes. As far as being authentic, well, obviously I've never driven a Countach, but it feels good. It feels similar to what it was in the previous game, which was good but not outstanding, at least in my book. And it's an interesting change from the more classic Countach as well. I always preferred the 25th. Now the next one is, of course, the Stratos. Now the Stratos is a car that I bring up a lot on this channel, primarily when I'm talking about cars that do not handle particularly well. I've never liked the Stratos rally car in Gran Turismo because with rear-wheel drive rally cars in general, or even front-wheel drive ones like the Citroen Zara, you just cannot get the power down well enough. But that was apparently more to do with the physics of Gran Turismo 6, because now you can take plenty of rear-wheel drive cars, even like muscle cars, on the dirt, and they feel great. So doubtless that's not going to be anywhere near as much of an issue. This is a very expensive little car though. It's only around N100, N200 to begin with, but could make a pretty nice N100 classic contender though. I haven't fully compared its lap times, but I should think it could be pretty good. 600,000 credits is an awful lot though. It sounds good, which is nice. I mean, if you're going to pay that kind of money for a classic, you'd hope it would look and sound good. So for those who are Stratos fans, I guarantee you're not going to be disappointed. In fact, this is easily the best representation of the Stratos we've ever seen in the franchise so far, in terms of graphics and sound. And the handling, I actually like more, to be honest. You can still get the tail out, but it feels good through corners. It feels nimble, it feels super small, super lightweight, which is, let's be honest, exactly what it should feel like. It was a dominant rally car for a reason, albeit this one isn't the rally car itself. So my ultimate thoughts on the pack are, I really like it. I wasn't particularly looking forward to the Stratos or the Countach, the Ferrari to some degree, but of course the Super Formula cars were the standout, and they were always going to be. I'm easily the most happy with those. We're going to get more into those and the differences or lack thereof between them, but suffice it to say, whichever one of the two you buy, you're going to love it. The only problem is Group X, which is not a surprise at all because all of the other Formula cars are as well. But for one-make racing, you can have some pretty amazing battles because they are incredible through corners. And in terms of other stuff, it's not a very feature-heavy update. You've got some new photo locations, new escapes locations, some more career mode events, the circuit experience, as I said. So it's more of a smaller additional update, which we don't get that many of. It's not like the big update of the month kind of thing, but it's a nice bonus, especially when you add it to what we had at the start of the month. It really bolsters out this month, plus when you add that they brought back the boost system, being able to use that on the controller, that makes a huge difference to those of us who race on Route X a lot, myself included. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with this pack. A new track would have been nice, but we already had a new track this month, so let's not get complacent. So many people are, and to be honest with you, at a certain point, you just get sick of hearing it. If people complain every time, then when they actually make a complaint that's legitimate, it doesn't mean as much. Kind of like the boy who cried wolf problem. If you complain about everything, then people just stop listening. Whereas what I try to do on this channel is I try to complain about things that Polyphony does that actually matter, such as Group X not making any sense. So ultimately that's my thoughts for the pack. Of course, stick around for more coverage. As I said, the Tomahawk tune tomorrow and various others over the coming days. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.